Hey folks, lack of response here. It's time for another round of the good, the bad, and the weird. We are getting into the third row of the big knife case. And that gets us to the Ferrum Forge Master Blaster. Let's take a seat and take a close look. Here we are, sitting down with the Ferrum Forge Master Blaster. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the weird, with the good being things I like about it, the bad being things I don't like about it, and the weird being things that just make it interesting or different or unique or weird. For me, that's usually the things that catch my eye about it, so there'll probably be a lot of overlap, but we'll see as we go. Of course, we start out with measurements and size comparisons in accordance with prophecy. We're looking at 8.5 inches thereabouts of overall length. Cutting edge, less than 3.5 by a little bit. Nice big finger choil there. What kind of markings does the blade have? We see that is the mark of their collaborator on this design, whose name I am having a hard time reading. But that's okay. There's the Ferrum Forge logo. I forget what blade steel this is. I think it was 20 CV, I want to say. It is not that big a deal. So that's the measurements. We've looked at markings on the blade. Let's do some size comparisons. Large Sabenza 21, so pretty comparable. Maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, it's a little longer. Let's put the roller. Yeah, a little bit longer. And Spyderco Manix. So yeah, right around that size range. Another comparison to a knife that we have previously looked at in these videos. The Ferrum Forge and ProTech. What did they call that one? I forget. Mordax. Button lock Mordax. Okay. This is a frame lock. And can we see in there? I don't think there's... That is not actually for a lock bar insert. That is something that Jake Hoback was doing back in the day, and I think Ferrum Forge borrowed it, an adjustable detent where you can get a little Allen key in there and adjust the detent to your liking, which is kind of neat. That screw there is for the stop pin that hangs out right there. The blade has what they called a force user finish on it. Mine's got a few little marks just from wear and tear and use, because I bought it and I used it. Titanium handles with some black finish. I don't know if that's Cerakote or PVD or DLC, but around the edges and inside the milling to give it a lightsabery look. A lightsaber with finger choil. The good. Action is nice. That adjustable detent does mean you can dial it to where you like it. Sounds nice. That force user finish does give it a nice, the aesthetics of the knife, the finish, the coating on the blade, and the milling on the handle. Give it a nice kind of Star Wars-y look, which, you know, is a thing. This knife came out during the time of the sequel trilogy of the Star Wars movies, which I know people love to hate those movies. I'm going to intentionally make a lot of people mad by pointing out that Last Jedi was my favorite of that group, actually. So feel free to unleash your hate in the comments. But at that time, there was a lot of demand or desire for Star Wars-y knives, and Ferrum came through for us. I think Microtech had some too. I know Winterblade has some knives that has some models that look like the Dark Saber these days, but that was more in response to the Mandalorian. But yeah, there's a big overlap between knife people and Star Wars people. And I feel like just enjoying cool Star Wars-y things is the best way to be a Star Wars fan. So, okay, the good. The Star Wars-y aesthetics are fun. That Cerakoted finish is nice. That Force User finish. It's kind of glossier than what you usually see on other coated blades. There's another Cerakoted one that we can compare. Here we go. See, that is a much glossier coating. The bad. All this lovely design they did here to give it the look of Darth Vader's lightsaber, or whichever character that is. If it's not Darth Vader, please educate me in the comments. Whose lightsaber does this represent? You tell me. The back is so plain. All we got is the Ferrum Forge logo there. They could have put some here instead of just a pocket clip, but instead it's almost like, it's so bland. Why? I mean, look. I mean, that's like Chris Reeve level look. Lovely, shiny green paisley. Flat gray titanium. Come on, Ferrum, this was a premium knife. You charged a pretty penny for it. You can do more. ProTech figured it out. Okay, so that's bad. The other bad, this is the only knife I have with a coated blade where the coating kind of flaked off in spots. I don't know if it's just because of that crisp transition from the swedge to the primary bevel is what did it, or if it was my own clumsiness or just what I was cutting. But that flaked off. Another bad. In my experience, that is a free spinning pivot in there, and it is very tiny. You can kind of see on the back side, very tiny. I know there are tricks you can use, like you can like put pressure, lateral pressure on the blade, like press sideways one way or the other while you unscrew to try to do it, or like get some kind of rubbery thing to hold back there to provide some extra grip. But still, free spinning pivots are bad, and I gotta call that out. The weird. It is a premium Star Wars-y Ferrum Forge knife. And Ferrum Forge quit doing these. They seemingly, I feel like they kind of dropped off the map. I didn't see a lot of knife YouTubers talking about them anymore. For a while, it seemed like everything they were doing was like a partnership with Wii or Civivi, or, you know, they were making things for the budget lines of all the big Chinese makers. They were designing things and selling it, which on one hand gets their knives into more people's hands, which is awesome, which is good for their business. I totally appreciate making things more widely available that way. We talked about Browse Blades doing that same strategy, right? Having some kind of budget line versions of the premium stuff. But it wasn't just premium and budget. It's like once they switched to the budget, to the having their budget models go through Civivi and whoever else, the premium ones seem to just go away completely. And that's weird. I do like this, though. See, the blade is pretty thin there. We did not do a thickness comparison, but we can. So, a little more than Sbenza thickness there. Spine looks a little thicker right up here around the flicking hole, which is kind of the thickest part. Does kind of drop steeply there. And it has that nice swedge. So this is the only real thick part. Right around the finger hole. Which does give you a nice spot to flick. And can we see, is that chamfered? I can't tell. Let's zoom in. Oh my, we really did zoom in. No, that finger hole is not chamfered. If it is, it's so subtle. It's not stand out to me at this level of magnification. Actually, I stand corrected. It looks like there is a lock bar insert there, as I can see by those pins and the adjustable detent. Maybe I should zoom in more often. Let's go back to the regular size. There we go. So the good, it looks like a lightsaber. It's a Warney, which is my favorite blade shape. Nice big finger choil and a good thumb rest right there if you want to choke up. You can get all the good utility cuts like you do with a Warncliffe. It's got a nice action. The flipper tab is very comfortable. And it looks like a lightsaber. The bad, they left the backside blank. The weird. You don't see these a lot anymore. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Please share your feelings in the comments. Tell me how you feel about Star Wars. Tell me how you feel about lightsabers. Please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Have a good one.